President Biden has said he's not sure he'd run for president if Donald Trump wasn't running too.
With the 2024 elections just a few short months away, healthy debates about the upcoming political situation, newer policies, campaigns of candidates, and conversations about who would be the better president for America are on the rise. The current president, Joe Biden, announced last year his willingness to run once again for the president of the people of America.
Biden announced his re-election bid exactly 4 years after the launch of his 2020 presidential campaign.
But what does his campaign bring to the table this time around? In today's video, we're breaking down everything that the president claims to provide to America if he clinches victory in 2024 against Mr. Donald Trump. Running for the fourth time this year, President Biden is not as popular of a choice for the Democrats as he was previously. On the 25th of April 2023, when he announced his election campaign, a PBS poll released that his approval rating was only 41% and disapproval rating reached 50%. Several other polls were also conducted, and most of the votes went against Biden running for the president in the 2024 election. Most of the Democrats wanted to see some other candidate this time around. Nevertheless, it's Joe Biden who's running, and since he's the leader of the Democrats,
is democracy still America's sacred cause?
He needs to come up with an American-favoring campaign to catch as many votes as possible. His re-election campaign kicked off at a union rally in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 17th in 2023. Shortly afterward, his administration created a social media account for their marketing on Truth Social, an app founded by Donald Trump's company. The Biden campaign announced this news on X, formerly known as Twitter, and many viewed this as a way of trolling the competing candidate, Donald Trump. However, these actions are part of every political campaign and don't hold as much importance as the policies that he seeks to gain mandates for in the upcoming election. The cornerstone of Biden's presidential campaign is the protection of American democracy. He stated in a speech on January 5th, 2024, that
the defense, protection, and preservation of American democracy will remain, as it has been, the central cause of my presidency.
Now, he focuses on the 2020 elections, where he blames Donald Trump for attempting to overturn them. Subsequently, he touches upon the 2021 United States Capitol attack and claims that Trump was the perpetrator behind these fiascos. Framing the 2024 elections as a battle for reinstating and protecting democracy, Biden speaks openly about
the soul of America is defined by the sacred proposition that all are created equal in the image of God.
Echoing Biden's framing of current geopolitics as the battle between democracy and autocracy. The second agenda on his list of politics to make is related to social services and healthcare for Americans. Biden's previous Build Back Better plan was full of promises that he couldn't deliver. He pins the blame on senators and pledges that this time he'll be fulfilling all the promises he made for the betterment of America and its people. These include offering 2 years of free community college tuition, universal preschooling, and limiting the cost of childcare to 7% of income for most families. He also stated that he's seeking to resuscitate the expanded child tax credit to $3,000 for children over the ages of 6 and $3,600 for children under 6 years old. With this, he aims to reduce the rates of child poverty. On the healthcare side of things, Biden has promised to protect and defend the Affordable Care Act, which Trump and many Republican senators seek to replace. Biden also showed intention to expand the price cap on the cost of insulin at $35 for Medicare recipients, enacted as part of the Inflation Reduction Act, to private insurance. Lastly, Biden also signed the Honor Our Pact Act of 2022, which is one of the largest expansions in veterans' benefits and provides medical care for veterans that were exposed to toxic burn pits. Talking about legislation, a controversial social issue spread like wildfire in America when the U.S. Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade, and resultantly, the abortion rights of women were revoked. Joe Biden has clearly shown support for the pro-choice group and promises that in 2024, if elected, he'll be restoring Roe v. Wade, and subsequently, abortion rights will be given back to women. He also criticized the court rulings against the limitation of abortion pills. Another nationwide pandemic that America has been facing for decades relates to weaponry, particularly gun violence. Previously, Biden was an instrumental part in the passing of the federal assault weapons ban in 1994. However, the ban expired in 2004, and since then, gun violence has been on the rise in America. Biden stated that laws such as the First Step Act and red flag laws are imperative to ensure gun safety and decrease gun violence, fatal accidents, school shootings, and mass shootings. He proposes to implement increased background checks, barring carrying guns in schools, prohibit selling firearms on unlicensed premises, and, most importantly, allow gun manufacturers to be sued in court. However, this isn't the first time that Biden has taken cognizance of this growing problem. Previously, he announced the formation of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was the first major gun control legislation in over 30 years. He also issued Executive Order 14,092, which allowed stiffened background checks for buyers of weapons, ensuring safe firearm storage, and additional directions to law enforcement agencies to help in fighting against increasing gun violence. The next agenda is LGBTQ+ rights, civil rights, and voting rights. Unlike Donald Trump, Biden has openly shown support for the LGBTQ+ community and supports access to gender-affirming care. He also passed the Respect for Marriage Act, which legalized and protected same-sex marriages in the United States. Furthermore, he also attempted to pass a bill to protect the civil rights of people, which was to be called the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. However, backlash from Republicans and senators led to a failure of this, and ultimately, Biden resorted to passing Executive Order 14,074. He also assisted in making lynching categorized as a hate crime by passing the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act.
Lynching was pure terror to enforce the lie that not everyone belongs in America, not everyone is created equal.
Another executive order, particularly number 14,019, was also passed by Biden, which protected the voting rights of Americans. He also attempted to pass the For the People Act, but the opposing Republican senators didn't allow it, and ultimately, this attempt also failed. Lastly, Biden's campaign also focuses largely on restoring the economic situation of America to a healthy, progressive position. He dubbed his economic policy as Bidenomics and promised to create middle-class jobs, reject trickle-down economics, and enable Americans to regain their buying powers. He also pointed to his previous legislative acts such as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, CHIPS and Science Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act, which are expected to invest over $2 trillion in industrial policy over the next 10 years. His previous policies also worked apparently, especially when he passed the American Rescue Plan Act to speed up the economic recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic. On the topic of foreign policies, the relationship of Biden with other countries across the globe has always been controversial. Many believe that his methods work, while others, especially Republicans, believe that he needs to do better. Nevertheless, he's been described as the president of the most transformative phase in U.S. foreign policy in decades. Many have reported that under Biden's presidency, he strengthened relations with several allies to counter Russia and China and ensure a position of trusted leadership. Finally, he also touches upon the necessity of reforms in law enforcement. Biden stated in February of 2023,
Police departments violate the public trust. They must be held accountable.
He also repeatedly pushed for community policing in the past and assures that moving forward, he will increase the mental and social services funding to ensure the safety of Americans. However, many are still concerned whether Biden, at his old age, can carry on the presidency and fulfill all of these promises. Nevertheless, he is still a popular choice of many Democrats, but it's still far too early to say whether he'll clinch victory again or not. So do you think Biden can fulfill his long list of promises and transform America as he says? Make sure you let us know in the comments section down below. And if you like this video, support us by hitting the subscribe button and pressing the bell icon so that you're notified as soon as we upload our next informative video. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.